And so I went to court, and I stood in front of the judge with my backpack on. I think I had my flashlight taped around my neck. I mean, I was in bad shape. It was funny, actually. And I was supposed to get 5 years probation. I had a bus ticket coming back to Memphis one last time, or one more time. I was going to get away with it one more time. Sometimes getting away with it is the best thing for us. And I stood in front of the judge that day, and he gave me 6 years in Department of Corrections. So my life changed that day. I prayed a few weeks before for God to help me, but that's not what I would have chosen for myself. I would have never chosen prison as my recovery program. So I was born up in Missouri. My parents had great parents. My mom was a nurse anesthetist. My dad was a car dealer back in the 60s and 70s. And loved me. I mean, my parents loved our family more than anything you could ever imagine. We weren't rich, we weren't poor, we were just kind of mediocre. But my dad used to go out 2 or 3 nights a week after his selling cars all day, and he'd go drink with his buddies and chase women and fight and do all kinds of stuff. But he still loved us, right? He still loved us, but he had an addiction problem. And one night in a fight, I think he probably didn't do it intentionally, but he ended up breaking my mom's arm in a fight when I was 2 years old. And my first memory is them fighting in the other room. I never saw anything, but I just remember chaos in the other room. And my brother would take me into the other room. Anyway, my mom moved away. We ended up moving a couple of times. We ended up in a little town called Dermot, Arkansas, on the other side of Greenville, Mississippi. A lot like Clarksdale. Reminds me of Clarksdale a lot. Just farms and the river. That was all that was there. And she took us there because she thought it would be safe for us. And so there was a lot going on in that small town. And so after school, I started riding my bike around town, started smoking cigarettes, 3rd or 4th grade. Pretty soon I'm experimenting with weed. Pretty soon we moved to West Monroe, Louisiana, moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma. When I was in the 8th grade, I started getting a little bit heavier, going to a lot of concerts and parties and different things like that. And the drug use escalated. Even though I was still in school and playing sports and everything like that, I always had something hidden in my pocket, something that I wasn't supposed to have. And I don't really blame my parents. My mom taught me right from wrong. My mom used a switch and a belt. Like, she was not shy about it at all. And so she did that ever since I was a kid. So there's never been a time in my life where I didn't know right from wrong. When I was 8 years old, smoking a cigarette at the bus stop, peeping around the tree. I've always known when I've done wrong. My mom taught me right from wrong. And so I've never blamed anybody for where I ended up at. But anyway, they ended up sending me back to my dad's house. I'm in the 8th grade. They're like, you need a father figure. He had gotten remarried. He had a home, and he lived up in Joplin, Missouri. And so they sent me back there. And my stepfamily really didn't want me there a whole lot. They didn't, my dad was the breadwinner, but when he was around, everything was good. But when he was gone, they kind of let me know they didn't like me a whole lot. And so I just stayed gone a lot. I just stayed gone with my friends. I had a job when I was 16. I had me a 77 Oldsmobile Cutlass. That was my first car. And it was awesome. And I had a good life. I had a good childhood. I didn't do without anything. I was used to my parents being divorced. It was something that I was used to. So it really didn't affect me. It happened when I was 2, so I just grew up with being used to that. Anyway, the drug use escalated. Started experimenting with cocaine in high school. Started using cocaine intravenously and different things like that, and got into a really bad place. And my family wanted to help me. Methamphetamine showed up on the scene. This is back in the 80s, mid 80s, and my family wanted to help me, so they sent me to Memphis. My mom lived in Memphis down at North Parkway in Avalon, I guess midtown, downtown. And my mom was a nurse at the UT Bold, and they were trying to help me. I was going to come here and change my life. And so I came here. I started enrolled in college. I was still smoking weed and experimenting, doing drugs. And I tried crack cocaine for the first time in Memphis, Tennessee. And ended up in a place called Dixie Homes. I was in downtown Memphis. My addiction got so bad that I sold the shoes off my feet. I was standing down there panhandling and different things like that. And so it got really bad in Memphis. And when I first came to Memphis, I'm like, they don't have enough cops. I can do whatever I want. So I was having a good old time. I had never experienced a city like Memphis. And this, like I said, this was back in the 80s, mid 80s, late 80s. And so it got so bad, I was panhandling at Burger King on Union down there, and it was really bad. So my family, once again, was trying to help me, and so now they shipped me back to Missouri. So they moved me here to get me away from the drugs up there, and they moved me back to get me away from the drugs here. So we're moving me around, but we're not fixing anything, right? Right? Change of location doesn't fix anything, right? And so anyway, I went back to Missouri, went back to the only life I knew, the drug culture, meth labs and bars and, just the drug culture. And my dad died while I was in jail. He never got to see me clean. Towards the end of my life, he got clean about 15 years before he passed away. And he would come find me no matter where I was and tell me he loved me and tell me he knew it was going to be all right. And I don't know how he thought that because I was in really bad shape. I was riding around on a stolen bicycle at age 33. Too busy to come talk to him. He wanted me to come and tell him, he wanted me to come to his house so he could tell me he had cancer. And yours truly was too busy. And so it's big regret. One of the regrets that kind of pushed me to eventually get clean. That pain kind of has a way of doing things, And anyway, so I went back there, ended up hitting a really bad rock bottom. I was living in abandoned houses and going up and down railroad tracks and living in the woods. And I was lost. I was as lost as any person's ever been. And I sat down on a log one day in the woods and I was crying out to God, say, if you're up there, whatever you are, I need you. Right? The only thing I knew about God when I was 33 years old, the only thing I knew about God was Vacation Bible School. And I just knew the characters. I really didn't even know I didn't really even know the whole story. I just knew there was these characters, an ark and a whale and these stories, and then there's some being named God. That's all I knew, and that is all I knew at age 33. I had picked up the Bible a few times, but I never got past the second chapter. But I asked God to save me that day. I think my feet were bleeding. I was dirty. I was in bad shape. I had to go to court. And so I went to court, and I stood in front of the judge with my backpack on. I think I had my flashlight taped around my neck. I was in bad shape. It was funny, actually. And I was supposed to get 5 years probation. I had a bus ticket coming back to Memphis one last time. Or one more time. I was going to get away with it one more time. Sometimes getting away with it isn't the best thing for us, And I stood in front of the judge that day, and he gave me 6 years in the Department of Corrections that day. So my life changed that day. I prayed a few weeks before for God to help me, but that's not what I would have chosen for myself. I would have never chosen prison as my recovery program.